You're muted, by the way.
I swear I didn't do it, but I must have.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me about that, Brent.
No, I figured I would surprise you with it.
That was a nice little surprise. The little holiday themed entrance music there. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll have to thank our graphic artist. And I know you know who she is. So
she does great work.
She worked overtime. She worked overtime yesterday to get that out for today.
That is so cool. That was real. That was a nice surprise. So, hey, it's I think it's Wednesday. I've kind of lost track of days and times. reInvent has been crazy. What are we talking about today, Brent? What's on the agenda?
Well, we're going to talk cross-region replication, cross-account replication, and this is one of the big features that was announced. It was actually announced before reInvent, but we rolled it out during the first week of reInvent, and it got a ton of mentions, and it's been like a really visible feature, and it's something that solves huge problems for our customers, and also because Lambda has adopted the container packaging format, it solves problems that their customers have too. So it kind of, coincides with their release of it. So their customers didn't know that they would have these problems, but it's pretty awesome to have this available to us. If you think about like how we used to have to push an image into more than one location, we would have to actually do that in the pipeline, right? We would actually have to like push from, wherever I just built the image, push to A, then to B, then to C perhaps. And especially when you get into like account level, cross account level situations, you have to figure out, how do I like grab different credentials for the new account, and then, activate those credentials and start to push into wherever that new account happens to be. So that was kind of ugly, to have to do that in a pipeline. And if anything ever broke, then, as with pipelines do, everything after fails. So you have to go back and figure out what worked, what didn't work. All that's solved, right? So now it's just a checkbox or a slider, and you activate it. So
yeah, and it's we always talk about this. You write you write custom code to do all this. We announced this feature. Yay, I get to delete code. That's always my favorite thing, is to delete my horrible code that I wrote to leverage something that really talented people built way better than I could ever do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so we should probably intro, speaking of the talented folks. Omar, you've been on the show a few times, but maybe just a quick introduction for yourself, and then we'll have Michael do an intro.
Right. No, for sure. Omar Paul, I'm ECR's product manager. So container registry product stuff here at AWS. And just so talented, that would be the side. That's Michael over there, not me.
It's always a test, by the way, when you're on this platform and using a direction. You have to like...
to get it. Yeah, I'm Michael. I'm the project lead for cross-region replication on the ECR team. And then I guess in a former life before Amazon, one of the people who would be able to delete their code. Because
Nice.
at my last job, I also implemented an in-house version of this. So this is an exciting release for multiple reasons.
That's awesome. So if you're an engineer on the team, you helped build this. What was one of the hardest thing, like from the day you said, we should replicate cross regions, like what was the biggest hurdle that you had to solve to get to today?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. You think about cross-region replication, and I think when, as a customer, you're building it for one or two regions, and then when you think about building it on the AWS side, you're building it for 20-something regions, right? You're being asked to not only replicate, one customer's images to 2 or 3 regions, but do this for thousands of customers across the entire world. And so there's just a lot more moving pieces. And so I think when we look to build it, we're just building it with a much different mindset.
Yeah. Like doing this at me scale is one thing. You have your image layers that you need to figure out how to replicate. You have your metadata that you figure out how to replicate, perhaps a caching layer, and you're good to go. But then, at AWS scale, those things are each of those different components are entire systems, right? So how did we pull this off? Like, can you give us just a high level idea of what the architecture is like?
Yeah, definitely. So you're right. We sort of think about replication in 2 parts. So you have the metadata about the image manifest, and then you have the actual layers. And so, again, as building this at AWS, we have a ton of experts across the organization that have thought about this problem. And so, we're able to leverage the same system that powers S3 replication to replicate our layer data, which was awesome to have them do a lot of the heavy lifting. And we actually worked with them to add some features to that. And then for our metadata replication and then for managing replication of the images, we were actually able to build on AWS services. And so we're building a system that is using Lambda for compute, is using Dynamo to track, job state, and using SQS to manage work. And so that allows us to, instead of standing up another fleet and having to worry about host replacements and operating system patches, we're able to, just let other people manage it for us. So taking advantage of our own public cloud is a really cool opportunity.
Yeah. And I mean, it's something that we talk about with our customers every single day, but I want us to talk more about the fact that we do this ourselves. In a way, we are our own customers. A lot of people call that dog fooding. So like being able to use our own services to accelerate our time to be able to get a feature out is awesome. If we had to build all of this from scratch, we'd still be building it. So
right. And it's funny that you mentioned it, because I swear it was last week or a couple shows ago, someone in the chat did ask. It was about a different service, but still that they were asking about dog fooding and using our own services to build features and other services. So it's really cool to hear that we're leveraging these highly available, fully managed services in our service. It's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. And we need to point out to Edge Geek that we use Lambda. So
yeah. Oh, he'll be thrilled.
Yeah.
We love containers, but we also use Lambda.
Absolutely. Use the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
And to follow up on what Michael said, and what you said, me scale and AWS scale. So when Michael and the team said, okay, we'll use this service and this other service, then they also have to go off to these other services and say, hey, we're ECR and we're going to use your service. And then typically one of the first questions is, what's the scale at that you're going to run? What are you going to push at? What are you going to put? Like, they want to know this, right? And of course, because they have to plan for that. And so quite often we end up pushing another service, just like as another service when they would use ECR and pull from ECR to launch their own applications, they have the same questions for us. So there's a lot of inter-AWS scale conversations that continue, which, if you think about it, really helps the customer, because we end up pushing our own sister services to go up higher and scale better, and then there's this benefit on the side, right? The customer gets. So that's a fun call out, I think.
That is super interesting, because I remember the last time you were on the show, you had a slide. Was it 3 billion container pulls a week? Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, imagine, the underlying foundational services that you use to build this kind of thing. When you're talking about a service at that kind of scale, 3 billion container pulls a week. I know that's not how many get replicated or anything like that, but still, like, that gives you a sense of the scale of ECR. And you're like, okay, now I want to go and operate against your service. I want to pull in, your service at AWS and start bringing our mammoth, service to start using it. That would probably, like, make people stop and take a breath for a second and say, okay, are we ready for that? So that's awesome.
So let's talk about use cases and where cross-region replication makes sense. And I mean, I think there's quite a few here. We have a demo, but maybe first let's talk about the two ways that you can replicate. Yeah. I mean, one is cross-region, obviously, right? So if I deploy my image in Oregon, US West 2, and I want to have that image automatically replicated to any of the regions, it's pretty simple to set up. Brent, tell me, like, when you think of this use case, what sticks out to you for cross-region replication?
Well, I think of my immediate thoughts are to be able to run, or at least come up in an alternate region. So the second one would be get closer to my customers. Maybe I'm already doing that by operating multi-region. And then the third might be backups. There's I forget the name of the startup, but they never mind. I won't even go into that story. But being able to have a backup of your artifacts is hugely important, and to be able to put that in a place where almost no one can get to it, or they only have read access to it, or something like that. Special credentials, different permission levels, and you're just using it to store. For the case where something went wrong and you accidentally deleted the artifact that you must have. That's the kind of situation that having replication be either cross-region or cross-account is going to be super useful for. Then earlier we brought up Lambda. Replicating your Lambda containers is also super useful, because you might have a dev level account and you built your container and tested it and everything, but you can't do cross account with Lambda at the moment. So replicating into your production account is a terrific way to address that. Just replicate them all. And then when you're ready to promote to production, you can specify the hash or the tag or whatever it is that you want to activate. So I think those are some really cool use cases.
Yeah, and go ahead. Were you going to say something, Omar?
Well, I was going to say that Brent is kind of spot on there, because as many know, when you start to do a service or feature inside a service at Amazon, you tend to work back from what the customer wants, right? And so you do that, and these use cases popped out top of mind, right? The two primary ones were, in fact, we run in multiple regions, right, for high availability, put the image in the same region as my workload, because now I have like low latency and pulls. That was like one of the top questions. And the second one was high availability on a backup case. Like we run here and we've got that, but if we ever have to go somewhere else, it's like it wasn't even something it was necessary for compliance. It was necessary to get approved. It was necessary to go to prod. So these are like adoption blockers for them to, like, in some cases they couldn't go to containers until they could make sure the artifacts were in different regions, and so they were rolling their own. So those two were really, really top. But here's another interesting one that cross account brings, and I'm like super excited to see what our customers do with this. You can replicate cross account, right? And customers promote across accounts when they go from dev to stage to prod.
Yes.
And they do that manually. Well, maybe now they'll just, so I'm really interested to see if cross account replication as a mechanism to promote across your pipelines becomes a thing. Like, you should be able to do that, right? And if there's some rough edges on that we have to sand out, because we, the customers will tell us and we'll make it smooth. But that was one of those, I was like, huh, because you hear that from customers. And I was like, oh, this is nice. Let's see what they'll do with this.
Yeah, and with cross account, there's a whole reason. There's a lot of reasons to use multiple accounts. And, we talk about blast radius. If I have one team that controls, a great example here is if security, I'm a large enterprise and security wants to control ownership of images. Security has their own account. They have their own build pipeline, and they can vend through cross-region, cross-account replication, security vetted images to other AWS accounts for the teams to ingest and use.
That's a good one.
So and this is why I really want to see this, CloudWatch integration come in, because in my mind, I see myself triggering pipelines off of updated images.
You're absolutely right, because there are, especially at the enterprise level, there are customers who they'll still operate under that golden image, kind of workflow where the security team and there's a different team that creates the base image. And then the service team, whoever, is writing the code, their from line is always just that base image, whatever it happens to be. So yeah, getting that pushed out to all the other accounts automatically is going to be pretty incredible.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And then, like Adam was pointing out, and by the way, Event Bridge and tag replication, those are two things that I know are on your roadmap to get added to the service.
Yep.
That would help that situation where as soon as a base image gets updated, then go ahead and trigger a build of the service image. So that would be pretty incredible. Man, God, that's awesome.
This is where my mind goes. And so let's just demo it. Let's show how to do all these fun things.
Yeah. Let me get your stream going.
Thank you. I always like to hide behind the image. Okay. So let's start with just ECR. And Brent, by the way, please, if somehow I get choppy or weird at any time, just interrupt me.
Never mind.
Let me know.
No jokes.
I was going to say.
Really, I've always.
If I get weird, just interrupt me.
That was my takeaway.
I should rephrase that, because it would be constant interruption. I get it. So, okay, let's just start with the ECR. Okay, so with ECR, we have, this is the console, AWS console. Should I zoom in? Let me zoom in a little bit. We have our private and public registry images. So with public registries in ECR, we've talked about this before. Cross-region replication is built in. That's just native. So that's really nice. You don't have to think about that. But so we're going to talk in the context of private today. And when we want to configure our registry settings, so when we speak of registry, this is for all of our ECR repositories, right? Within a registry. So we're talking, kind of registries, that umbrella that all the repositories live underneath.
Yes.
This is where I can modify the settings for my registry. So as you can see, I have two options here. And by the way, I'm doing it in the console because it's visually nice. Of course, I believe this is all API achievable as well, right? CLI and all that.
Yep.
Yeah, Perfect. Thank you. So I've done two things here. I can enable, and this is not enabled by default. So I've enabled cross-region replication. I can choose my regions. And it's important to note that when you enable cross-region replication, it's not going to replicate previously existing images. It's on new images, right? New pushes of images to the registry. So I have US West 1 right now. I'm in Oregon. So let's pick a couple regions. So we have US West 1. I want to pick something a little further away too. Let's go to Sydney. That's an 18-hour flight, I believe.
Yeah.
So not
an
18-hour replication, but an 18-hour flight. And then I can also choose to go cross account. So cross region is going to be within my AWS account. And obviously cross account, I can choose multiple accounts. And then within each account, what regions we want to replicate to there.
Wow. I mean, this is really kind of a spider web that like you push one image and it can go out a lot of places.
And think about for the folks who had to build this themselves, like this is super easy. Having to build this myself is a lot of code, a lot of error handling, a lot of, try catch just to figure out all these different edge cases that I'm going to potentially miss. It's just a lot of work. So we have people like Michael and his team who do a great job building this for us now.
Hope so.
It's fantastic. And what my favorite part is going to show off how fast it is. So we're going to demo that in a moment. Now to set up cross account. So I have another account here. And to do that, I would go to private and I would just select permissions. Now, this is where I set up my policy. So this is just an IAM policy, a resource policy for my private registry to allow other accounts to replicate into my particular registry.
And this is one way, right? So it's not allowing that account to do anything bad to your registry.
Right. And that brings up a good point that you had mentioned earlier, Brent, was, so it's replicating to one account. If I push an image to the account that's being replicated to, I mean, that's not going to replicate back to our golden image account or whatever it is, however we want to word it.
Right.
So yeah, so you can see here, I have my account number from the other account, and I'm just saying I want to replicate everything to this particular account.
So one question came up from our YouTube channel. ThinkBot Labs wants to know, is there a limit to the number of destination accounts?
So we currently have the limit at 25 destinations. And so that's a region account pair.
Got it. Yeah. So like Adam's pushing that limit already.
Yeah, you got some breathing room.
Yeah.
Is that a soft limit or is that a firm hard limit?
Right now, that is a firm limit.
Okay, cool.
But we have a roadmap, and anyone can file issues.
Yes, they can. And one customer already pinged me a couple of days ago, going,
"Really?
Hey. Yeah, because they went to the use case that you and Adam talked about, which was, I'm going to send it from here to these 4 accounts over there, which is going to send it to these other accounts. And they're like, hang on a second. I'm already in an exponential fashion hitting that. I'm like, okay.
Wow. Yeah. That's impressive.
So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have, Northern California, and I'm going to push an image right now. So I want to see how fast I can do this and see if I can catch it in time. So I just have a little scripty script I wrote. It's just going to log into ECR, create a repository if it doesn't exist. Just grab that repository URI, build the image, and push it. Okay, nothing too fancy here. And what we should see if it doesn't break, which it did, which is always awesome.
I love that.
Let's see. I of course I was working on this.
Looks like
as you guys were talking.
As you should. But that's what makes Continuous in the Car so great, is because we're working on it. This is live.
There we go. Okay, so it's just something in my OR operator that was nasty. Okay, so we're building an image, we're pushing it. So now this is the repository that I pushed to in Oregon, and you can see here, in Northern California, it replicated. Darn it, I had an image here already, but you can see, did it push? Am I crazy? Oh, it's the same image. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
We didn't do it again.
Wait a minute. No, I don't have to, because I also pushed it somewhere else. Where was the other place I pushed it?
You did.
Oh yeah, you like 22 other places.
Let's go to the other account. So
Okay,
in my other
yeah.
account, I have no repositories. So remember, this is a brand new account. Northern California, there's my image. So I created this Wikipedia API container. And yeah, so it replicated the other account. I set up that statement. I set up where I want to replicate to, and that was it. So let's go to US East 1, US East 2. Go ahead, Brent.
I have a question. Okay, so we say when you're setting up the replication, especially in the console, it popped up the message that it's not going to replicate, images until you push the next image, right? What I don't know is if I already had images in the repository and then I push my next image, does it start replicating from that image forward, or will it go back and then replicate all the images in that repository that were already there?
You want to take that, Michael?
Yeah. So it'll just replicate new images. And yeah.
Okay.
One of the things I think we're hoping will happen is customers, like you said, are going to be able to delete a bunch of their code that was already doing this.
Right.
And so we don't want to get into a situation where like turning it on could like potentially replace a bunch of images that you wanted to be there. So replication, at least for now, is for new images going forward.
That's awesome. And that's what I figured, but I wanted to clarify for anyone out there that had that same question.
That's a good one. Yep.
And you can see I didn't set up the policies in the other regions in the other account. That was something I missed. So let's delete that.
So wait, you see, you just went up into another account, into a third region for your second account that you were replicating to your destination. You didn't give it permission, so the image didn't show up.
And again, this is, we always talk about least privilege in AWS. And I like to harp on this because by default, things aren't open to the world and you can't just go nuts. It's not the Wild West. You have to explicitly allow this access to happen. So you don't just do it all willy-nilly. And I happen to forget that. So I'm going to push it again just to show.
We do things like that on the show so that you don't have to. That's
exactly. So I'm going to
make the easy mistakes so that you can be left to make the hard mistakes.
That's a great demo because all the DevOps engineers, they were like, yes, it's blocked it. Good.
That's right. Yeah. We're testing that security feature.
And let's do this because,
I also like the little handy dandy policy generator thing. You just say what's your and it creates the little JSON. That like me, I was happy when that happened. I was like, that's one little paper cut that you try and take away, right?
And it's surprisingly it's really nice. It's surprisingly something that can be a little annoying having to generate these policies on your own.
Yep.
So that's a really good point. Is this just tells me it gives me some basic inputs here. I put my account number, policies generated.
Yeah.
Save and I'm done.
Yep.
So really nice. And all right, so I pushed an update to the image. It's a rather large image.
Is it Java again or is it Ruby this time? Should I ask them the last time?
I think this is actually just Python, which, pretty heavy. Oh, it's the Lambda Python image.
Oh, yeah.
So I've pushed the update to the image. If we go to that other account now, I'm in Ohio. There it is. It's in Ohio in the other account. And then also I set that policy in Virginia and we should see there's my image 12:30. I mean, I just pushed that. It just finished pushing not long ago. So
yeah. Oh, yeah. I noticed it was, for me, it felt, I'm going to call it instant. I know that, that has an implication of timing, but it felt instant is what I'm getting at. When I was pushing East Coast, West Coast, it was US East 1 and US West 2. And then I picked Ireland as my third destination. And when I pushed again, I went and immediately tried to switch over to Ireland and look to see if it was there. And I saw it come in. So it was, a couple of seconds. I'm fine with that. That's great. So
that's pretty darn quick. And so look, this image pushed to Oregon at 12:30, 22 seconds. Here it's 12:30 at 23 seconds. So
nice. And we've mentioned the roadmap a couple of times, but Adam, can you click the link and pull the roadmap up on your screen?
Mm-hmm. Let's do that. Coming up. Okay. So this is the ECR specific.
That's correct. And if you look at we're working on it column, you got replication before. So when this went GA, Michael, because there are two Michaels, both of whom will work on the blog, Housing Blog. We know what Housing Blog is about.
Yeah.
The blog explicitly called out a couple of things we were going to do, and that's a public commitment of what we're building. So that's right there in the roadmap. So encourage anybody who see this, which one they like more, +1 it, add a comment so that we can take the feedback in right now.
Yeah, and getting the status of replication, I think that could be pretty useful. So adding an API call for that should be pretty good. But the one that I wanted to call out was Event Bridge events. I think that there's going to be some really cool stuff that can be built once we have, there's already an Event Bridge event for the push, but then for the replication, I think we could do some awesome stuff with that. And then cross region replication per repo with tag regex. That again is going to be where you can get into some really advanced cases where you might, all of dev gets replicated to staging, and then anything marked staging gets replicated to production, or weird but cool workflows where you can promote images.
Yeah.
And just because they're sitting in your repository doesn't mean you have to actually run them. But you could, if you wanted to. You could actually then use the event bridge trigger to trigger a deploy. So as soon as this gets replicated into your production repository, go ahead and trigger a deploy off of it.
And that's one of the things we thought about is and Michael can correct me, but I think on the event bridge, we were thinking that we would we would emit a CloudWatch event in each destination region when the replication finished, and then we would emit an event in the primary region where you did the push that all of them finished. Because,
nice.
Because typically you'll have the single, you'll have a primary region where you push into,
right?
And you'll have maybe a deploy waiting there. So you want to know that it all got done. But then you've got the workflow where 5 regions have the image. I want to kick my deploys off and get the app updated, and then you can then listen in on the event in each destination. So that was the thing. That's what we're thinking, right, Michael?
Yep. Yeah, and then it's also for the case that you're doing cross-account replication. Then you're getting event bridge notifications in each account, right?
Yeah,
sort of another nice thing about that.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. And then to be able to, just think about the customer who they want to be multi-region. So combine this with, let's say they're already using Copilot and they're just developing on their laptop. They do Copilot service push, and then all of a sudden, all the logic takes care of everything from that point forward. They can, get their new image pushed out to all 5 regions that they happen to operate in, and then that can perhaps trigger a deploy in all of those regions, and they can just all straight from their laptop do nothing different than what they've been doing. It's going to be really cool.
That would be a good containers in the couch thing.
Absolutely. Well, let me know when those features get added. I've +1 them, so I definitely am looking forward to it.
There you go, Michael.
Awesome.
Adam and Brent +1 it. I think that's good.
That's all it should take. I'm just saying.
Customer feedback we're looking for.
the voice of the customer right there. We go.
But I see, and for me, I envision especially with that, working with CloudWatch and EventBridge to start emitting those the push notifications. Is I see pipelines, I see GitOps, I see I see teams being enabled to deploy everywhere off of an image update, and this is something that with GitOps we've seen a lot of, where you can trigger deployments off of image updates, right? So I could see some really cool workflows coming out of that. And by the way, so I pulled that container and I ran it. So, I'm running it right now in US West 2, and this is just my wiki service, which I really like. But anyway,
he rewrote Wikipedia in Python.
And anyway, so there it is. It's running, and I'm a big fan of the Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight. It's one of my favorite songs. So if you want to learn more about them, just use this container image, or whatever you want. But anyway,
all the ways to learn about them, you should definitely start by using this container image.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But anyway, so the simplicity of the demo, I think, may not do the service, the feature justice, because of how much complexity it really solves. But man, it's really cool, and this is just, I'm excited to hear. And please on Twitter, reach out to us. Let us know what you're doing with this. What cool things you're doing, and what cool things you want to do to enable your teams to move faster and be more productive as well.
Absolutely. So check out the roadmap. +1, the features that you're looking for that you think you want to enhance your experience. If you haven't set up cross-region replication or cross-account replication, go ahead and do it. There's nothing holding you back. So it's literally a slider for cross-region, and it's barely more than that for cross-account. So get your backup set up, get your ability to come up in a second region set up. This makes it trivially easy. So go ahead and do that. Start experimenting with it. Check out the roadmap. Let us know what you want to see us build next. And Michael kick it into gear, and he'll get it knocked out in no time.
Nice.
Yep.
So
yep.
I think that's it. Thank you guys. Thank you for being on the show, and to the audience, thank you.
Yep.
And yeah.
Cool.
Thank you, Michael.
Cool.
And
Thanks a lot.
Building it, really. See,
absolutely.
Look at me. This is correct now.
It's easy. Yeah.
That one's easy.
Yeah.
Now that you have us on the same side.
Right on. All right. So, all right. Thanks, and see you guys. See you tomorrow.
Thanks,
Cool.
y'all.